Your child has a very particular way that they want you to love them. Today, you are going to learn about how your child wants you to love them. Once you are able to speak the way they like to feel loved, you are going to get a lot more cooperation, a lot more giggles, and less resistance from your children when it's time to go to school, when it's time for bedtime, when you pick them up from school, when it's time to get in to go to dinner, when it's time to do homework. You are going to see them more open to you because they feel loved and valued the way they want to feel loved and valued. Today, we are going to break down the 5 love languages of children developed by Dr. Gary Chapman. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Parenting with Understanding podcast. My name is Marcela Collier, and I am your host of this wonderful podcast. I cannot wait to share with you how to love your children, speaking their love language, because it changed my relationship with my children, and I know it will change your relationship with your children as well. If you've been listening to our podcast, this is the place where you find guidance, inspiration, and information to break free from reactive parenting, bring peace to yourself, and raise children, emotionally healthy children with safety and accountability. If you've been listening to the Parenting with Understanding podcast for a while, I encourage you to give us a positive review. Just open up the episode, open up your phone, and then write a hopefully 5-star positive review. That will help us get to way more parents. Okay, so how is the way that our children like to feel loved? There is a misconception when it comes to what our children's need of love is. So, love is the way that they like to feel the connection from us. And it is different depending of what their love language is. There are 5 love languages according to Dr. Gary Chapman, and our children have a primary one they like to the most. Although all of us like all 5 love languages, but we have a primary one. Once you find your child's primary love language, you can speak it often and you can see the results when it comes to them listening to you, when it comes to them leaning towards you, when it comes to them opening up to you, sharing their things with you. So these 5 love languages are the love language for quality time, the love language of gifts, the love language of words of affirmation, the love language of acts of service, and the love language of gifts. Before I break down each one of them, I want to let you know about the importance of speaking your child's love languages unconditionally. Unconditional love, it's what makes your children feel loved, because conditional love is when children feel as a transaction. So let's just say that you told your child who loves gifts and quality time that you're going to pick them up from school, and from there you're going to go to the dollar store and they're going to pick a little thing, and then you're going to come back home. But let's just say that you pick them up and you get a really concerning report from the teacher. Your child was disruptive, they were not listening, they hit a classmate, and then you say, hey, you did not earn going to the dollar store and picking something up. You did not earn that. Well, the translation to your child whose love language is quality time, that's the primary one, and then the secondary one is gifts, is that they're going to feel unloved. They're going to feel you don't love them. They're not going to connect the consequence to their behavior. They're going to connect their consequence to your love for them. So, speaking our children's love language, to be effective, needs to be unconditional. Regardless of your behavior, I commit to speak your love language. Otherwise, it will feel like a transaction. Otherwise, it would be a payment. It would not be a gift you're giving your children, the gift of love. You are paying them. It's a retribution for meeting up an expectation. So, real love is always unconditional. It is hard for us if we grew up in conditioned love environments to really see how this unconditional love could really be played out with our kids. And we may have concerns as, if I go to the dollar store and give him a gift, he's going to think that hitting his classmate and not listening to the teacher is not okay. And it's not true, because one thing is not related with another. Matter of fact, you can take that time to review the concept of kindness, to talk about what to do next time, to explore your child's feelings, because every behavior communicates a need, and a need comes with a feeling. So if they were disruptive in class, if they hit a friend, if they didn't listen to the teacher, there was something about today that is really stressing them out, and that quality time with them will be the perfect time for you to process what happened, and perhaps helping them troubleshoot on how they could do things differently next time to not end up in the same problem. It would do more for you with your child in the area of discipline to speak their love language than to deprive them from it. You take the outing away, you take the gift giving away, and then you are end up with a more angry child who is not listening to you because they feel deeply disconnected, and then they're gonna go back to school to repeat the behavior, or to not do the behavior for fear, but repeat it in a different setting. Maybe in the weekend, a gymnastics class, they're going to repeat it because they didn't have a moment of connection and genuine love where they could get full an interaction with you, that where they could get a lesson rooted in connection and not fear. So if you say, Marcela, okay, now I'm kind of getting there, but I'm still struggling, because if I were to get that kind of report from my child, or if I see my child hitting somebody else, or if, like, I know I don't want to be a doormat. I want to raise respectful children, but I don't want to sound so authoritarian that my children are scared of me, help me, or I lose my cool, my temper. I don't know how to keep it keep myself regulated to do all those things that you're telling me. If you are there, I have a gift for you. This gift is a free class that 14,151 parents already took to go from reactive parenting to bringing peace to your parenting and raising your children with peace. With peace and, important, accountability. You can find this free class in hicparenting.com. That's my website. I'm going to leave a card up here on the screen or in the description below if you are watching from YouTube, or you can open the description of this podcast episode if you're listening to the podcast from your podcast feed, and then the link is in there. And in that class, I'm going to share with you my 4-step roadmap that has helped all my clients, and that helped me break free from yelling, from snapping, from maybe doing things that go against my values, to fully parenting my children with safety, with accountability, with peace, and full confidence that I am raising responsible yet connected individuals. So take advantage of this class. It is free and it will help you a lot. Let's start breaking down the love languages. I have my notes, so you might hear the pages turning. Number one, physical touch. The language of physical touch is not just hugs and kisses, it is touch. It is touch. So let's talk about touch. It could be as simple as playing basketball with your kids. It could be as simple as snuggles on the floor. It could be as simple as high fives. It could be as simple as a pat on the back. It could be as simple as a little tickle on the feet. It could be as simple as just rubbing shoulder to shoulder, watching TV, or holding your children while reading a book. It doesn't have to be hugs and kisses. So if you say, hey, but my child doesn't like to be hugged or kissed, explore these other ways. My older child, my teenager, he's not a teenager anymore. When he was a teenager, he wasn't huggy or anything. You know how teenagers get. Don't hug me. They're embarrassed about everything, every interaction with their parents. But he really liked hair, like doing hair. And then every time I needed to dye my grays, he dyed my hair. That's physical touch. There was connection, physical connection between him and I. Follow their cues, because sometimes our physical touch, they might not want it. They might not want it how we want it or when we want it. So if they're sad and crying and then you reach out for a hug and they don't want a hug, then they don't want a hug. That doesn't mean that they're rejecting your physical touch. It might not be how they want to connect physically at that moment. So words of affirmation. Words of affirmation is the messages, the communication. And more importantly of what we tell them is how we tell them things. How I have a question for you. How does your child feel when you say good morning? What do you think they feel? Let me know in the comments if you're watching from YouTube. How do you think your child feels when you say good night? How do you think your child feels when you're in the car and you say, "Hey guys, get in the car"? How do you think they feel when you give them bad news? How do you think they feel when they make a mistake and then you tell them something? Do they feel connected or do they feel disconnected? So this is directly related to the love language of words of affirmation. It's not just what you say, but it's how you say it, how it feels to them, and the context of it. One thing is to say a random "I love you" than to say, "Oh, I so love playing with you" while you're playing with them. The context gives meaning to your words of affirmation. A gentle answer turns out wrath. This is the Bible. And if you are not a Christian, it is true. If you're not a Christian, you don't have to believe in the Bible. But this, I wanted to bring this up because it's related to this topic. A gentle answer turns out wrath. So just imagine your child is angry and they're up here, and then you're up there with them as well. Do you think that there is a chance that you have to settle them down? Hard. But if you are the one who sets the tone of kindness, if you're the one who sets the tone of considerate treatment towards your children, they will follow it. Children will ride the pattern we give them. Words of affirmation, words of affirmation are not just simple praises, not the simple good jobs. Even though, yes, there is nothing wrong with telling your children good job. But what about if it's a little more elaborative, more descriptive? If your praise, if your acknowledgement is a little more descriptive. I see that you clean things without me telling you. You clean your plate or you clean the table without me telling you. That's very responsible of you. Thank you so much. How would that sound compared to, hey, thank you? You know, it has a different weight. It does. So the love language of quality time. Quality time could be either shoulder to shoulder interaction or direct interaction. So shoulder to shoulder interaction is we are together, we are kind of like exchanging vibe between you and I. Maybe we're talking, but we're doing our own thing. So it could be that your child is working on, I don't know, on their Legos and you're right next to them folding clothes. And then you are talking from time to time, but you're together doing something. The direct interaction is that you are in their activity, doing things with them. What is more important? Both shoulder to shoulder and direct interaction. If you have multiples, it's important to have individualized attention. And I know, because I have multiples, that sometimes this is challenging. But I make myself a point of having at least one meaningful interaction with each one of my children each day, even if it takes 5 minutes, even if it's not convenient, because most of the time it is not. I have to ignore the pile of dirty dishes and make myself aware, intentionally aware of sitting down and just interacting with whatever my children are interacting at that moment. So active listening, it's such a good skill when it comes to speaking our children's love language of quality time. So active listening is that when they're talking to us, to give them individualized like our ears to be receptive to them only. So if you see your child disrupting your adult conversations a lot, or in your demanding things from you a lot, talking to you a lot, like you're constantly with them, mom, or dad, like auntie, whoever you are for them, check. When was the last time that I gave my child undivided attention when they were talking to me? Or how often am I like, okay, yeah, talk to me, or I'm kind of responding to them, but I'm busy here. I'm busy making sandwiches. I'm busy cleaning. I'm busy writing an email. I know we're busy parents, but if you do get all these behaviors of demanding it, mom, dad, all the time, disruptive adult conversations, those behaviors could be solved with a simple acknowledging them. Not every single time, but from time to time, acknowledging them. So, reflective listening is not just listening to them, hearing them, giving them that undivided attention, but elaborating on what they're saying. So it could be something like this. Okay, so you told your sister that? Oh, and how did you feel about that? Okay, so the balloon that you chose was red. All right, and what the balloon did you give your sister? Ah, you gave your sister the green one. Okay, got it. Is it that you really want to understand what they're telling you? Possibly no, but they feel seen. They feel so seen when you do that. That's called reflective listening skills. Quality conversations come when we develop reflective listening skills. We brush them down all their childhood and expect for them to have quality conversations with us when they are teenagers. They won't have it. They won't have these conversations with us if we don't train them on these conversations when they're smaller. If they grow up with not knowing what it is, you paying attention to them and reflecting back to them what they said and trying to build a conversation with them, they're not going to give that back to you because they don't know that skill when they're teenagers. So the gift, the love language of gifts, the love language of gifts. This is one of the most misunderstood love language because children who have this love language as their primary love language may be titled or labeled as entitled, spoiled, ungrateful. So if they get a gift but they want more gifts, then they're ungrateful. Or if they're demanding gifts, then they're entitled or spoiled. It's just a love language like any other. Some children, some people in general feel the most love when they receive gifts. And then don't have to be expensive gifts. They don't even have to be gifts that you buy at the store. It could be a simple homemade something. It could be that you surprise them with cupcakes. It could be that you wrote their name on their pancake. That's a gift. There is a double edged sword that parents have misused for years, and it's reward charts. Reward charts are not speaking our children's love language of gifts. Reward charts are bribes. If you do A, B, C, D, then you get a reward. You are bribing your children, manipulating their behavior to get something out of you. And that goes in hand with the concept of conditional love. If they feel the love, the gift is conditional, then they will learn that they have to do things in order to get things, and they will demand to do things and they will demand you to do things for them, for them to give you a gift to you. Like they will start using it as a form of manipulation as well. So the word gift comes from the Greek charis, that actually translates undeserved gift. Undeserved. It's undeserved. Undeserved. They get Christmas presents no matter what. They get Valentine's Day presents no matter what. They go to the dollar store and pick up their a little toy if you promise them that, no matter what. Even if you get a bad report from school. It's an undeserved thing. It's attached to no strings. No strings attached. I give it because I love you. That's the only purpose, for them to feel love through it. So there is something very that it's important to be aware of, and it is the concept of showering our children with gifts and speaking this love language to overcompensate for the lack of thereof other languages, the lack of quality time, the lack of words of affirmation, the lack of physical touch, the lack of acts of service. So it's not about showering our children with gifts if they have that primary love language. It's about giving them intentional unconditional gifts to show them appreciation. If they feel they have to do something to get a gift, it's not a gift anymore. It is a payment. You're having them pay for meeting one of your expectations. So gifts are unconditional, undeserved. They are given regardless. Acts of service. So there is a fear that parents have when their children's love language is acts of service. Let me know in the comments if you have this fear. My child is always telling me to do things for them, but I don't want to enable them. Do you fear enabling your children? If you have that fear, that's a really good sign that your children's love language is acts of service, and they're demanding it a lot. And you're like, but I already taught you how to put your pants on. How come you're asking me again? Well, they're not asking you because they feel incapable, but because they want you to speak their love language. So I heard this somewhere that I have a lot of thoughts about it. Only do for your children what they cannot do for themselves. So it is a very black or white thinking. Just imagine if I only do for my husband what he cannot do for himself. I mean, I think he can do everything for himself. He's a very self sufficient adult, but he sure loves when I cook for him. Even though he's the cook of the house, when I do cook for him, he likes it. He for sure loves when I set up his backpack by his car. He's like, "Oh man, like I opened the door of my car and my backpack is already there. Wow, thank you." So not necessarily. You have to speak to do for your children what they cannot do for themselves. It's a balance. It's a balance of doing things for them, but at the same time, encouraging them to do things for themselves. So when they are teenagers and you are making breakfast for them, it's not because they cannot scramble an egg, but because you want to serve them that way that day. My mom was an enabler. And when I got married, I didn't know how to fry an egg. So it was a problem for me. I suffered the first month of my marriage because I didn't know how to do many things, including turning on the vacuum. I broke the vacuum trying to turn it on. So, speaking our children's love language of acts of service is not doing everything for them and enabling them. It's building up their skills and serving them as we build up their skills. So it could look like this. Today we are going to make your bed together, but it's not going to be every day. Tomorrow you're going to do it on your own, okay? All right. Or I could scramble some eggs for you, but at the same time, let me teach you. Let me teach you so you can do it too, right? So that's how we speak the love language of acts of service, of acts of service. I have a question for you. Based on the things that we talked about, what is your child's primary love language? I'm very curious. Let me know in the comments if you learned a lot, if you found inspiration, aha moment, like, I want my sister to know about this. Stop right now. Send it to your sister. If you are driving, don't send it to her right now. Wait until you stop. But you can stop this video, just pause it, send it to your friends, send it to one person who has children who you think will benefit from learning about the five love languages of children. Share with a friend, and I want to tell you that it only takes understanding of yourself and of your children's needs to raise secure children. I'll see you next time.